Good day, class 10. Open your political science textbook to chapter 4 Gender, Religion, and Caste. In this chapter, we will look at three kinds of social differences that can take the form of social divisions and inequalities. These social differences are based on gender, religion, and caste. In each case, we look at the nature of this division in India and how it gets expressed in politics. We also ask whether different expressions based on these differences are healthy or otherwise in a democracy. Let us begin with gender division. This form of social division is seen everywhere. It tends to be understood as natural and unchangeable. It is based on social exploitation and expectations. Young children are made to believe that the main responsibility of women is housework and bringing up children. Women do all the work inside the house, like cleaning, cooking, washing clothes, tailoring, looking after children, and so on, while men do all the work outside the home. This is reflected in a sexual division of labor. But remember, it is not that man cannot do housework. They simply think it is for women to attend to these things. On the other hand, when these jobs are paid for, men are ready to take up such jobs. A very common example. You go to any hotel or restaurant or a dhaba, you will find the cooks are males. You go to most tailors, they are males. It is not that women do not do outside work. Women do work outside their homes, like maid servants, the sweepresses, right? In villages, women fetch water, collect wood, and work in the fields. Middle class women in towns and cities work in offices. Most women do some sort of paid job, but their work is not recognized or valued. Women's role in public life, especially in politics, is minimal in most societies. Earlier, only men were allowed to take part in public affairs. But when the gender issue was raised, then women, only a few were allowed into politics. Women in different parts of the world organized and protested for equal rights. They protested for the extension of voting rights to women. More radical movements aimed at equality in personal and family life. These movements were termed as feminist movements. Political expression of gender division helped to improve women's role in public life. Example: today women are working as scientists, doctors, lawyers, managers, teachers, professors, etc. In some parts of the world, the participation of women in public life is very high. But in our country, India, women still lag behind. And you know why? What is the reason? Because our Indian society is still a male dominated society. So we call it a patriarchal society. Therefore, women face disadvantages, discrimination, and oppression in various ways. Like, number one, the literacy rate among women is only 54% as compared with 76% among men. Only a small proportion of girl students go for higher studies. And it is very surprising. If you look at the school results, you will find that girls perform either better or as good as the boys. Girls drop out as parents prefer to spend their resources on their sons rather than on their girls or daughters. Second, this attitude has led to the proportion of women among highly paid and valued jobs very small. It has been observed that an Indian woman works 1 hour more than an average man every day. As her work is not paid for, it is not valued. Let's go on to the third. The Equal Remuneration Act of 1976 provides that equal wages should be paid for equal work. However, in all fields like sports, cinema, in factories, in offices, etc., women are paid less than men, even if both do exactly the same work. Fourth, in many parts of India, even today, parents prefer to have sons. They find ways to do away with the girl child before she is born. This sex selective method has led to a decline in child sex ratio to merely 919, meaning 919 females to 1,000 males. To add to the problem, there are reports of various kinds of harassment, exploitation, and violence against women. Urban areas have become unsafe for women. Very surprising observations have been made about women not being safe even at home. They are beaten, harassed, and subjected to other forms of domestic violence. Let us move on to women's political representation. The above mentioned observations related to women's well being are well known to the authorities, but not given adequate attention. Many feminists and women's movements have concluded that unless women control power, their problems will not get the required attention. In India, the number of women in the legislature has not reached even 10%, while in the state assemblies, it is less than 5%. India is among the bottom group of nations in the world, that is, where the representation of women is very, very low. In the government, cabinets are all male, even when a woman becomes the chief minister or the prime minister. This problem can be solved by making it legally binding to have a fair proportion of women in the elected bodies. The best example, in India especially, the best example is the Panchayati Raj system. And this has achieved, that is, women representation has been maximum in the Panchayati Raj system in India. That is, one third seats in local government bodies like panchayats and municipalities are reserved for women. There are over 10 lakh elected women representatives. Many women's organizations and activists have been demanding reservations of one third of seats in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women. This bill has been pending in Parliament for over a decade. It has not been passed till now. And clearly, you can make out that political parties do not want women representations in the Lok Sabha or state assemblies. That means more women to take part. Gender division is an example that some form of social division needs to be expressed in politics, as disadvantaged groups do benefit when social division becomes a political issue. We move on to religion, communalism, and politics. We will discuss about religion and politics, which leads to communalism. A different kind of social division is based on religious differences. This religious diversity, which is fairly widespread in the world, most countries, as well as India, have in their population followers of different religions. But you must remember, belonging to the same religious group does not mean there won't be serious differences. There will be differences. These religious differences are often expressed in politics. We will understand this better through some examples. First, Gandhiji said that religion can never be separated from politics. But what did he mean by this? He didn't mention any particular religion, but he stressed that moral values found in all religions must be adopted and politics must be guided by ethics drawn from all religions. Second, human rights groups have claimed that most victims in communal riots are people from religious minorities. Therefore, they demanded that the government take special steps to protect religious minorities. Women's movement claim that family laws of all religions discriminate against women. So they want the government to step in and change these laws to make them more equitable. Now, from all these examples, it shows a relationship between religion and politics. Ideas, ideals, and values drawn from different religions can play a role in politics. People, as a member of a religious community, should be allowed to express in politics their needs, interests, and demands. Those in political power should be able to regulate the practice of religion so as to prevent discrimination and oppression. They should treat every religion equally. इसको बंद कर दें, बुला रहे हैं. हो गया. Good day, class 10. Let us continue with Political Science, Chapter 4. We move to the next subject. It is communalism. The problem begins when religion is seen as the basis of the nation. The problem becomes even more worse when religion is expressed in politics in exclusive and partisan terms, meaning when one religion and its followers are pitted against another. When does this happen? It happens when beliefs of one religion are presented as superior to those of other religions, demands, and religious group are formed in opposition to another. And when state power is used to establish domination of one religious group over the rest. This way of using religion in politics is termed as communal politics. So, communal politics is based on the idea that religion is the principal basis of social community. Therefore, communalism involves thinking along the following lines. First, the followers of a particular religion must belong to one community. Second, their fundamental interests are the same. Third, it also follows that people who follow different religions cannot belong to the same social community. The interests of the followers of different religions are bound to be different and involve a conflict. In its extreme form, communalism leads to the belief that people belonging to different religions cannot live as equal citizens within one nation. Either one dominates or they have to form different nations. This belief is extremely mistaken, as people of one religion do not have the same interests and hopes in every context. They have different roles, positions, and identities. Each community has many voices, and these voices have the right to be heard. Therefore, trying to bring all followers of one religion together is bound to suppress many voices within that community. Communalism can take various forms in politics. How? First, the most common form or expression of communalism is in everyday beliefs. These involve religious prejudices, beliefs in the superiority of one's religion over other religions. 2. A communal mind leads to a quest for political dominance of one's own religious community. The ones belonging to the majority community, it takes the form of majoritarian dominance, while those belonging to the minority community, it can take the desire to form a separate political unit. The best example is Sri Lanka. The dominant religion is Buddhism, and the dominant linguistic group is the Sinhala community. Therefore, the Sri Lankan government adopted majoritarianism. That is, they provided all their policies for the good of the Sinhala community. They ignored the Sri Lankan Tamils. And that is why these minority groups began or wanted their language and their religion to have some value where the state was concerned. And when the government refused to acknowledge their claims, then, as you know, as I explained earlier, these minority groups formed different organizations and protested, and the LTTE resort to violence. And there was a civil war in Sri Lanka which lasted for almost 3 decades, which totally destroyed the social, economic parts of the country. Fourth, communalism can take the most ugly form of communal violence, riots, and massacre. Example, during the partition of India and Pakistan, thousands were killed and wounded. And what was the reason? The reason was the outbreak of communal riots. Even after independence, there has been a large scale of communal riots and violence in our country. A secular state. Communalism was and still continues to be one of the major challenges to democracy in India. Our framers were aware of this. In fact, our framers were aware of this, and that is why they chose the model of a secular state. What is a secular state? How can we say that India is a secular state? A secular state is one which has no state religion, and the citizens are free to profess, practice, and propagate any religion of his or her choice, or even follow no religion. There is no discrimination made between citizens on the grounds of religion. There are several constitutional provisions which declare India to be a secular state. Now, girls and boys, please underline this because there can be a question. Mention the several constitutional provisions which declare India to be a secular state, and therefore you have to write these points down. So therefore, underline it, underline these points, and you learn them. The first one, there is no official religion for the Indian state. This is not like Sri Lanka, where Buddhism is the state religion, Islam in Pakistan, Christianity in Ireland or England. Our constitution does not give a special status to any religion. Number two, the constitution provides to all individuals and communities the freedom to profess, practice, and propagate any religion or even not to follow any religion. Third, the Constitution prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion. Fourth, the Constitution allows the state to intervene in matters of religion in order to ensure equality within the religious communities. Example, untouchability has been banned by the Constitution and is a punishable offense. Therefore, communalism should not be seen as a threat to some people in India. It threatens the very idea of India. So, communalism needs to be countered in everyday life, and religion-based mobilization needs to be countered in the arena of politics. We move on to caste and politics. We have seen gender and religion being the expression of social divisions. So we move on to the final case, caste and politics. These have both positive and negative aspects, which I shall discuss in my next video. Good day, class 10. Let's move on to political science, chapter 4, and the topic is caste in politics. In India, casteism is rooted in the belief that caste is the sole basis of social community. That is, people belonging to the same caste belong to a natural social community and have the same interests which they do not share with other castes. Caste is one aspect of our experience, but it is not the only or most important aspect. Caste can take various forms in politics. When a candidate is chosen by parties, the caste composition of the electorate is kept in mind. So they nominate candidates from different castes so as to muster necessary support to win elections. When governments are formed, political parties make sure that the representatives of different castes and tribes find a place in the government. Number two, during elections, political parties and candidates make appeals to caste sentiments in order to muster support. Some political parties are known to favor some castes. universal adult franchise, and the principle of one person, one vote compelled political parties to gear up to the task of mobilizing and securing political support. The focus on caste in politics can give an impression that elections are all about caste and nothing else. But this is not true. Like, no constituency in India has a clear majority of one single caste. Therefore, every candidate needs to win the confidence of more than one caste and community to win elections. Second, no constituency in India has a clear majority of a single caste, which we have already seen, and therefore no party wins the votes of all the voters of a single caste. Vote bank refers to a large proportion of voters from the caste vote for the party. Not all the voters from a caste will vote for that party. Next, many political parties put up candidates from the same caste. Some voters have more than one candidate from their caste, while many voters have no candidate from their caste. Next, the ruling party, the MPs or MLAs, lose elections in our country. This would not have happened if all castes were frozen in their political preferences. That is, all castes were in favor of one particular party. Therefore, we can conclude that caste matters in electoral politics. But there are other factors too. Voters have strong ties to political parties, which is stronger than their ties to their caste or community. Like, for example, rich and poor, men and women from the same caste often vote very differently. People assess the performance of the government and the popularity of the leaders, which is very decisive in elections. We move on to politics in caste. We have seen what caste does to politics. Now let us see how politics influences the caste system. The caste identities, by bringing them into the political arena, we will see that politics does not get caste ridden, but caste gets politicized. First, each caste group tries to become bigger. How? By trying to get other castes or subcastes to join which were excluded. Second, various caste groups enter into coalition with other castes. Third, new kinds of caste groups have come up, like backward and forward castes. In conclusion, we can say that caste plays different kinds of roles in politics. In some situations, expression of caste differences in politics gives many disadvantaged communities the space to demand their share of power. Therefore, caste politics have helped the Dalits and OBC castes. There have been demands and agitations for the end of discrimination against particular castes. But exclusive attention to caste can have negative results too. Politics based on caste identity alone is not very healthy in a democracy. Many important issues like poverty, development, and corruption can be diverted. Caste division leads to tensions, conflicts, and even violence, which in turn can disintegrate the nation. Boys and girls, watch this video 2 to 3 times, but make sure that you watch it at different intervals of time. Right? If you have any problems, you can always call and find out. Any difficulties, you can always get it cleared. Now your written work has to be completed. So make sure that your written work is complete.